All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And as always, today I have an amazing warrior guest to introduce to you today. But first, let us talk about why we're here. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. And in each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life: entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, literally any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future. And today's guest is absolutely no exception. Daniel Johnston is an incredible warrior. He's a 21-year survivor of skeletal decapitation. Just incredible. At 20 years of age, Dan was involved in a horrific auto accident while traveling with a friend. Suffering skeletal decapitation, traumatic brain injury, broken ribs, and lacerated lungs, his prognosis for survival was dim. After being in a coma for over 30 days, Dan began his long warrior journey of survival and now significance. Since that life-changing event, Dan has worked in his family business in the solar industry. And today he has a vision to launch a one-of-a-kind assisted living and age-reversing wellness center that will help to fund his future and his company. The company is Yahweh, or YHWH Dynamics. Love that name. A biomimicry inventing company that analyzes other industries to make them more efficient with higher performance. Dan's vision is to infuse biomimicry into SpaceX, starship, and other products, maybe getting Elon Musk's attention. And personally, his vision is to relieve and retire his parents from his care and move his friend and sister Lily from Kenya to Woodstown, New Jersey, where he's currently living today. So, Daniel Johnston, welcome
Thank you
to
so
Warrior
much.
versus Zombie.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here, David, and I am grateful you invited me on. It's a pleasure.
I am very much looking forward to it. So, how are things in Woodstown, New Jersey today? Is it nice there? Is it crazy there? What's going on?
Today it's sunny, blue skies, so we'll take that. And it's about 65, so pretty nice day
Oh, yeah.
comparatively.
Yeah. Compared to the norm, we're experiencing here in Dallas unseasonably warm weather. It was 93 yesterday. So uh,
Ooh,
it's starting to get hot. It's not, I'd rather have it be 65 than 93 personally, but I'll take it. We can't change the weather. Well, let's do this. I really want to make sure we have enough time to hear your story, to hear how you got to where you are today. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break for the audio audience. We'll hear a little snippet of It's Not the Getting There by Ricky Jean Wright, our theme song. And we'll come back. And when we do, Daniel, I want to hear about how you got from where you started to where you are today. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with Daniel Johnston and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, we are back. And Daniel, can't wait. Told the audience a little bit about your story there in the introduction, but I know there's a lot I don't know and a lot of color that you can share in the whole process. So tell us, how did you get from where you started to where we are today?
well, I was a wild child in the first half of my existence when I was able bodied. And now I can't be so wild. But I was working as a auto collision estimator for new car Chevrolet in Delaware, just writing down parts needed for vehicles that come in smashed up. And, I was doing that for probably a year before my accident. And I was coming home from that late one night from the job to come home. And my friend was going to pick me up and take me to a bar up in North Jersey where my cousin was recording and playing music. So we took a ride up there and just hung out for, might have even only been a half an hour. So we're just maybe had 2 drinks, nothing crazy or anything like that. There was apparently some sort of incident at my friend's house where something happened that I still don't know to this day. And he had to rush, kind of rush us out and get back home. So there was a little bit of an urgency there. So he was speeding and, kind of reckless. And there apparently was an altercation on the road with another vehicle that sent us off the road, skidding like 90 feet, all 4 tires just skidding 90 feet and hitting an off-ramp sign, the exit signs.
Mm-hmm.
And the car that we were in was a Volkswagen Jetta, which the year was like a 99. And that model had very narrow wheelbase. So it was kind of like a roller skate in a way. And believe it or not, the tires were actually perfectly spaced between the sign to where when we hit the sign, it punctured both front tires. So they were digging in the ground. And when we hit the sign, I didn't have my seatbelt on. My head hit the roof of the car, which pushed my head straight down, causing a crushing compression fracture at my C2, which is also known as the hangman vertebra, because that is the vertebra that breaks when you're hung. But the only reason I didn't die from that was because of the compression fracture. The vertebra exploded outward. So the only thing that was holding my neck on, or my head on my body, was my muscles and tendons and spinal cord. There was no bone there. That's why it's skeletal decapitation. And losing my train of thought here.
So as far as this, don't lose your thought, but the skeletal, that was one of the areas that was decapitation sounds pretty severe, but like you say, I mean, it obviously is severe, even the way it occurred, but you still have your body with you, so to speak.
Yeah. And when the car hit the sign, it dug in the front wheels into the dirt and gravel of the, off the road, and then started to turn to the left and begin to barrel roll, in a circle. And that, having that inertia was making my head like a pendulum, just stretching my spinal cord every flip. Yeah. So it ended up ejecting me out of the passenger window and then proceeding to roll over my chest. Thankfully my head was above the windshield, or I wouldn't be here speaking to you. And came to a rest, thankfully, off of me, and threw my friend into the woods like 50 feet. And they were having trouble finding him, actually. They had to use infrared technology to find his heat signature in the woods, because it was like 2 a.m. And funny part of the story is, well, not funny, but coincidental. Our identities got switched at the accident because all of our stuff was just thrown around, and they were basing diagnosis, the doctors, off of my friend's diagnosis of not having oxygen for a while. So all the doctors at the hospital were basically giving my parents no hope whatsoever of any kind of recovery. They're basically saying you need to pull the plug and, donate his organs. And, my parents just had more faith in God than anything. And we had prayer vigils outside, all those 30 days. And what else? They couldn't, they airlifted me from the scene to Cooper Hospital in South Jersey, and they weren't even able to stabilize me well enough to get me into the hospital. They actually had to insert chest tubes in my side on the roof of Cooper Hospital just because I was coding before I could even get in there.
Wow.
So that's another remarkable part of it. But I had, you listed all the injuries I had. So it was, grim for a long time. But, my parents had a lot of faith, and, we don't believe what the doctors tell us because they screw up a lot, and a lot of people don't realize it. Just a quick side note of the story. After I had been out of the coma, they thought I had spinal meningitis at one point. And, hey, Dad. They thought I had spinal meningitis and wanted me to take an experimental drug. And I didn't think I had it. My parents didn't think I had it. So we kind of go with our guts on everything, and prayed about it and just simply refused the treatment, the experimental drug. And it come to find out about 3 or 4 days later that I did not have the spinal meningitis. So if I had taken that, I could have very well died from that as well. Yeah. So, it's just, I could go on and on with survival stories. Like, even after the accident, I had to have a revision for my rods in my neck. I hit a curb in my chair before God called me. I was still being reckless and doing things I wasn't supposed to do, going to bars and stuff like that. But that was the straw that broke the camel's back, was having the rods replaced. I'm like, all right, yeah. God's like, okay, you're gonna listen now. You're gonna wise up. So that's when I turned around and started reading the Bible more, studying it thoroughly, and just inspired by the stories in there, and just warriors of faith, warriors of triumph. And if God can do that back then in those stories, then what's to say he can't do that for me? So that's where I get a lot of my strength.
Well, it's really, that's powerful, Daniel, and the real warrior, some of the warrior lessons that you've covered just in your story is fascinating to me, in terms of just, we all need expertise and we need people that understand what we don't understand. But that being said, especially for a Christian or somebody who is really connected to their source. If you have trouble with the labeling of Christianity, the fact is we have that in us, right? We have that gut instinct, as you called it. I call it the spirit within us that has peace or lack thereof when somebody's giving us advice or telling us something. And I think if you, as a warrior, if you pay attention to that and you make your decisions, not exclusive of that information, but taking that information and then using that with your gut, you're going to end up with a better outcome. Obviously, you've had some severe trauma and things that many of us haven't dealt with. I'm amazed and honored that you're here. Number one,
Thank you.
to be on the podcast, but also just how much God has carried you through this, and how sometimes I think one of the other lessons is we need to disengage our zombie mind, which is the mind that we just go through the motions. You know, you were a party guy, you had this severe trauma that occurred, and then you went back to being a party guy, and you went back to your old habits, because that's your zombie brain. That's the if you're in the Christian world, you call it your flesh, but it's basically we're inclined to not necessarily do everything that serves us the best at times. And sometimes, as I say, God has to get our attention. And obviously the second time around when your rods broke,
Okay, Ma. Yeah.
He got your attention, right? He got your attention. So once you got through that and you're doing that and you're working, so tell me a little bit more about, does that get you to today, or do we need to
No, definitely not. Many little hiccups here and there. The accident was in 2002. I had the spinal meningitis incident before I had left the hospital. And I believe it was 07, I had the revision of my neck, where they had to extract the broken rods and put new ones in, and a lot of rehab, a lot of recovery. Like I said, like you mentioned earlier, helping with the family business. My dad was an ornamental iron worker, making like staircases and security enclosures for like jewelry stores, things like that. So I would always help with the design and the not the fabrication part, but the process to fabricate the piece of equipment. And I dabbled in the solar business for a little while until the referrals dried up, where they weren't paying you anymore for referrals. So then I, transitioned. What did I do from there? From the solar, I was doing eBay with my dad, selling different things, and now I am, working on incorporating and franchising the assisted living age reversing clinics for people who either have similar injuries like me, or are friends or relatives, where they can be in a home, but they work collectively together, to make the home functional. And you're with people that you semi know or have, relationship or something in common with. So it will also be in direct competition with nursing homes and assisted livings, just as a franchise, because we all know someone old, right? And we're we're all going to end up in one of those places one of these
Sure.
centuries.
Some of us are closer to that than others, right? And
Right.
I'm getting older, but I'm working on that vitality of a 30-year-old. Let's do this, Daniel. I think we're kind of talking about today and talking about what it is. So I want to take another quick break. I want to hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright, and then we'll be back and we can talk about your assisted living and some of the other stuff that we covered in the bio. But thank you for sharing your story up to this point. I know that it's been an interesting, gross understatement, an interesting journey that you've been on up to this point. And I think if there's a warrior listening here that says, hey, I don't think I can get up tomorrow and do what I'm set out to do, all you have to do is listen to Daniel here and know that he's still moving forward. And frankly, you have attributes of a lot of other warriors. We'll talk about what you're doing now, but the fascinating thing to me is every warrior I talk to, we're all on a journey. We learn our own things, and then warriors want to take and have an impact by bringing other people along, helping them get through things maybe that were a little tougher for us to get through, or we had to figure out. And now all of a sudden, we're in a position where we've made it through, and we want to be a Sherpa for those coming down the road behind us or beside us. So love that. Let's do this. We're going to take another break. And when we come back, I want to talk about this assisted living, regenerative healing type of setup and your model there and your thoughts, franchise that you were talking about. And then we'll talk about what kind of impact also that you're hoping to have with that and other things. So let's take a hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright and our theme song, It's Not the Getting There. And we'll be back with our next segment of Warrior versus Zombie with Daniel Johnston.
See you on the other side.
All right, Daniel, crazy story. I mean, obviously you lived it. I'm hearing it and I'm going, and the audience is going, my goodness, this guy's still kicking, still got a vision of what's going on. It's amazing. And I think that's awesome. That's a great testimony. So tell me about what you're doing now. What kinds of things that are capturing your attention right now?
Well, definitely the assisted living and wellness, as well as motivational speaking. I had my first paid engagement with Blanca from the Laws of Life. She hired me to speak to her entrepreneurs that she trains and has discussions with on Tuesday at 11 a.m., which is always a good show to be on. And you can always be a guest on there too, which is great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I lose my train of thought.
So you're on with Blanca and talking and first paid engagement, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
The motivational speaking, as well as the age reversing assisted living, I want to make this a model where I'm at right now, because one, it's zoned for business, which makes it a lot easier. It's got a great layout where it's all one floor rancher with a wheelchair lift to the basement. So it's pretty much ideal for that. And we will offer proprietary products that help with the aging process. And yeah, turning back the hands of time, literally, with clinical cardiovascular evidence of arteries and veins getting better, and reduction in plaque. So it's all science-based, and a lot of people don't know about many of the products that we
so when
offer.
so I'm curious about that. So obviously, as I think I've shared, I don't know if we've shared on this podcast, I've shared on other podcasts, as my vision is to live to 120 with the vitality of a 30-year-old, which means I'm not planning for assisted living, but the age reversing part of that, or the age, the things to work with your body on. What kind, I mean, you don't have to list everything, but what kind of technologies, modalities, things like that are you incorporating or wanting to incorporate into your model?
One major technology is activating your own stem cells to awaken and start to heal your body again. By the age of 35, 50% have gone to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And by the age of 60, I believe 90% are in the dreamland, snoring away.
You're really
So,
depressing me here, Daniel, because I guess I'm mostly asleep here. So, but the good news is I actually am, I think I discovered that we're using similar technology, at least part of it in that vein. So, your stem cells are a beautiful thing. And, a lot of people today have heard of, in stem cell injections into joints to regenerate cartilage, or into other parts to, can correct others, things. But, basically, for those that are listening to this that don't know what, or have heard stem cells, it's basically the root cell that your body creates that then ends up being put into, turned into skin, or to other parts of your body, can do a lot of things. So yeah, I'm fascinated by that type of thing as well. The life wave or whatever, I think is one of the products that's out there that's that's patches or whatever.
yeah.
Any other types of things that you're looking at there besides that, or is that kind of the main?
Oh, no. There's definitely supplements from a company named Amare. They are the only company that is a mental health company that focuses on the gut, which is interesting. Another innovative company is Innovate, and they are a patch company as well,
Okay.
but they are actually vitamins that are absorbed through the skin.
Okay.
You actually get a better absorption rate than swallowing them. And
yeah, they're using a transdermal technology to have your body absorb it directly rather than going through your gut, because obviously you lose some of your body has to metabolize, or it has to be bioavailable through your digestive system. And a lot of times it doesn't make it to the blood, or doesn't make it to the organs that you're trying to serve through that. So I get that as well. That's cool.
Yeah, there's also Quantum LifeSpring. They're a new company that has just actually been introduced in North America. Only a few people know about it. That is, they actually sell a quantum resonance card. It's like a credit card that you just wave. You either tap your side of your drink and then wave over the top of the container with no lid on it, and then tap the other side. And it actually quantifies your food, whatever you drink, whatever you consume. And it is fascinating technology. It all works off of resonance, frequency, vibration to restructure water and make it easier for your body to assimilate.
Fascinating. Yeah. And frankly, again, there's a lot of people might think this sounds a little wacky or wonky or woo woo, some people say, but the reality of it is that we're more energy than we are matter anyway. And so sound resonance, sound waves, vibrations, those kinds of things are also part of our microbiome in, the gut health. You've hit on a number of things. Anything else in that regard?
Yeah, the Quantum Life Spring has other products coming out. They have I think it's a cardio mist, and it is a spray that you spray underneath your tongue, or in your mouth orally, and it's nitric oxide, which helps open your blood flow.
Nitric oxide, where it's actually increasing the dilation of your blood vessels and stuff, right?
Correct. And that's another product they offer. And the Beamer, it's BEMER.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that as well. Yeah.
Are you? Wow,
yeah.
That's impressive, David.
Well, not really. I just actually run one of my clients and one of my endeavors as a vision. I was working with a naturopathic doctor who launched a company called My Wellbeing Compass, which is entire 360 focus on health and wellness. And one of the practitioners in that, she was used the Beamer. She's a massage therapist and a bunch of other things. She's actually also using LifeWave now and some other modalities and technologies to help her clients. So yeah, I'm a believer in looking at all possibilities. Again, I don't believe necessarily in silver bullets. I believe more that we are a miraculous creation, and there's a lot of things in our environment, not just the acute or horrendous things that happen in terms of us hurting ourselves, but just in our daily life that work against our own body. And so coming up with things that work on the other side that are scientifically based are worth at least evaluating and exploring. And that's pretty cool. Well,
definitely.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add, if you just make little tweaks to your diet, to your supplements, to the modalities, like you're saying, to just amplify the best results for your body to perform the way it was designed to.
Yep. And like I say, we all, the age thing isn't necessarily, because again, I believe that God designed us to live to 120. I think it says that in the Bible. And so I believe that that's the way we are. So if we don't make it, then we've done something to keep that from ourselves. I don't believe God changed the plan or the I think that we are engineered that way. I think that we mess with the vehicle. We don't change the oil properly. You can keep a car on the road for a long time, or you can have turn it in every couple of years and get a new one because you don't maintain it. And I think that that's, interestingly enough, diet, exercise, movement, doing things, sleeping properly, hydrating properly, all the things that we can do. We don't have to buy anything. They're all available. But doing that right and avoiding toxins and other things in our environment as much as possible that we both consume, breathe, doing as much of it's very overwhelming when you look at everything. But if you do that, and then you can supplement it with things that stimulate your stem cells, or, supplement the poor food choices, or at least augment the food choices that we make, then we can do a lot to reverse our condition, as well as keep us moving down the road, with hitting on all cylinders, as they say. So I think that's beautiful. Tell me a little bit, and then we're going to go to the final segment here, the land the plane segment, but I want to hear a little bit of this biomimicry thing, the concept of using nature if you will,
Right.
biological, our own biological as well as biology in our world, to apply to businesses. You hit on that a little bit in your intros. Is there anything you'd like to share on that before we move to the last segment?
About biomimicry, sure. That's my passion. I love that. It solves problems. I believe it is the missing key to engineering and inventing, because it just, whatever it touches, it always enhances it and is a reduction in waste or negative attributes to whatever you're putting it on. It's fascinating, and it's I guess you would call it my secret sauce, and my little key to my own individual brand, because I want to infuse what I call, in my version, God's fingerprint on products. He has placed this ratio, phi, PHI, not pi, and that's 1.618034 is the short number, but it goes indefinitely in both directions, up and down, and does not repeat itself. And it is found on every living thing. It's in trees, it's in plants, it's in animals. The seahorse spiral, the seahorse tail, is the same ratio as the spiral of the universe, as well as the nautilus shell. So that is what I will be analyzing other companies with, to see what benefits they can glean from it.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty exciting. You know, the thing that's most inspiring to me about this, really, Daniel, is that not only you're still standing through your journey and still moving forward, but you're also looking beyond yourself and trying to figure out ways to make this world a better place, and staying connected to our source, being tuned in to our vision of things is an awesome thing. So if anything were possible, this is the last question, then we'll move to the next segment. If anything were possible, and by the way, I always say, my book says all things are possible. What kind of impact would you hope to have in the things that you're doing going forward?
Well, ultimately, in a dream world, that would be to gain the ears of Elon Musk. I want to inspire him to incorporate biomimicry into every aspect of his products. For one, Starship, I want to put a biomimicry invention on that already has another industry that is using the exact technology effectively, with documented, proven advantages, that will get Starship to Mars with 20% more lift and 7% less drag. So it will cut through the atmosphere and space faster, just with a simple add-on that can be applied after the rocket is complete. So it doesn't have to be added on in the beginning stages. It can be applied externally on top of whatever's already built.
Beautiful. Well, I love that vision. I love the impact. I love the possibilities that would flow from something like that. Our space program over the years has always spawned in the government-led space programs have spawned a lot of improvements that people don't even realize in our day-to-day life and impacted millions of people. So I love that. Well, let's do this. We got to take a quick break. We get into what I call the land the plane segment. And there I want you to think about, while we're taking a quick break, is what is it that if we take away anything from this podcast, what do you want us to take away? So we'll hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright, and we'll be right back with Daniel Johnston and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, Daniel, this has been crazy good. And I'm excited about sharing this discussion with our Warrior versus Zombie audience. So as I said before the break, hopefully I've given you a little time of all the stuff we've covered, all the lessons that we can glean from your story and all the things that you're focused on today. What one or two things do you want to make sure that we don't miss in this discussion?
Definitely, no matter what, don't give up despite any circumstance, because you never know what one conversation, one phone call, one yes from somebody will change your world and open up new doors that you never thought possible, and never to give up on God, family, or yourself.
Wow. I absolutely love that. And that's a perfect takeaway from your story here that a lot of people need to hear these days. It's pretty easy going through what we've gone through for a lot of people, unfortunately, to look at what they went through, the loss of business, the loss of relationships, a number of things, maybe loss of loved ones and things through the whole zombie apocalypse that I call it, or the pandemic as most people call it. And it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get depressed. But no matter what you're trying to do as a warrior moving forward, we all need to move forward and not give up. I love, love, love that. So how do we stay in touch? You're on the Be Connected platform. This will be up on that channel, and we'll be on all the podcasting platforms and so on, Daniel. But how else is there any other way that you want us to reach out to you?
Sure. I'll have to send you my links for
Okay.
you to put in the description. You can find me on Facebook. I think it's just Dan Johnston, Johnston with a T. And on Instagram, I'm less than the number 1% Dan on Instagram. And the reason I have that handle is because that's what the prognosis the doctors gave me after the accident. If they said if the traumatic brain injury doesn't kill him, if the spinal cord injury doesn't kill him, his lungs will kill him, because they were lacerated, and I was a smoker, and I should actually be on a ventilator right now. But yeah, I was able to get off that as well. So yeah,
beautiful.
Crazy journey, Dave.
That's such a gross understatement, but I'll take it. That's amazing. Well, Daniel, it's been amazing. I think that as time goes on, we'll probably come back with a triggered episode and drill down a little bit on maybe some of the technology systems, the whatever. I mean, there's just so many possibilities here. So thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing with our audience. And we will now land the plane, hear a little more of our theme song, the outro of It's Not the Getting There. And we'll be back this Thursday for another episode of Warrior versus Zombie.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, David. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. Pleasure's all mine.